The wind swept low across the plains, carrying the smell of dust and wild sage. The town of Willow Creek looked half asleep under the afternoon sun. A few horses tied outside the saloon, a couple of kids kicking a tin can down the road, and one man sitting quietly on the edge of it all. He was tall, lean, and silent, known only as Luke Mercer, the cowboy who barely spoke a word. Folks said he'd lost his voice years ago after a bullet wound near his throat during a cattle raid. Others whispered he just didn't want to talk anymore after what he'd seen in the war. Whatever the truth, Luke had learned to live in silence. His hands spoke through his work, his eyes through small kindnesses nobody noticed. That's how he lived. Quiet days, quiet nights, fixing fences on his small ranch at the edge of town. Until one chilly evening, when a stagecoach rolled in and changed everything. It stopped right in front of the saloon, wheels screeching. From it stepped a young woman, trembling slightly, her clothes dusty and her face pale. She had a small bag in one hand and a piece of paper in the other, a letter maybe. Her name was Clara Mayfield, though no one in town knew her yet. Luke happened to be there, helping an old man load sacks of grain. When Clara tripped on the uneven plank and dropped her bag, he moved fast, caught it before it hit the dirt. She looked up, startled, and met his eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded once, tipping his hat. Her eyes lingered on him, steady, gentle eyes that seemed to hold stories she wasn't ready to tell. There was something about his silence that didn't feel cold. It felt safe. Later, she took a small room above the general store and started working as a seamstress. People soon learned she'd lost her family back east in a house fire. Her fiancé, too. She'd come west trying to outrun memories that followed her like shadows. The folks were kind but distant. That kind of grief made people uncomfortable. But not Luke. Every morning, when he brought supplies into town, he'd see her sitting by the window, sewing. Sometimes she'd glance up and smile a little. He never said a word, but he'd tip his hat in return. That was enough. One afternoon, a storm rolled in fast and heavy. Rain lashed down, wind howled through the streets, and the sky cracked open with thunder. Luke rode in from his ranch, soaked to the bone, looking for shelter. As he passed the seamstress's shop, he saw Clara struggling to close the window. The rain was pouring right over her work table. Without thinking, he jumped off his horse, rushed in, and helped her pull it shut. They both stood there for a second, dripping wet, breathless. She looked at him, really looked, and something in her face broke. She whispered, "I don't think I can do this anymore." He didn't speak, but he reached out and gently took the wet handkerchief from her trembling fingers, laid it aside, then pointed to her heart, and then to his own chest. It was his way of saying you're not alone. That small gesture, it undid her. Tears fell silently, and Luke stood beside her until the storm quieted. After that day, she began visiting his ranch sometimes, bringing him fresh bread or helping with chores. He'd write short notes on a scrap of paper to talk. Simple words like "thank you," "be careful," "sunset looks nice today." Slowly, she started laughing again. That shy kind of laugh that sounded rusty from disuse. He taught her to ride a horse, an old chestnut mare named Rose. The first time she managed to stay on during a gallop, she turned and saw Luke smiling. It wasn't wide, but it was real. She said, "I didn't think you ever smiled." He shrugged and wrote, "You just never gave me a reason before." Time passed, quietly like that, two broken souls finding comfort in silence. But peace never stays long in a town like Willow Creek. One evening, A man rode in, rough beard, hard eyes, asking for Clara Mayfield. Turned out he was her late fiancé's brother, drunk on revenge and bitterness, blaming her for the tragedy that took his kin. He cornered her behind the saloon, yelling cruel words. Luke saw it from across the street. He didn't wait. He crossed over, grabbed the man's wrist mid-swing, and stared him down. The man sneered, "You gonna talk, cowboy? Or just stare me to death?" Luke didn't need words. His eyes said enough, the kind that promised pain if the man didn't back off. When the drunk lunged, Luke moved like lightning, disarming him and shoving him into the mud. Sheriff came soon after and hauled the man off. Clara stood there shaking, tears on her cheeks. Luke brushed a strand of hair from her face, his thumb lingering for a heartbeat longer than it should. She caught his hand, holding it tightly. That night, under a pale moon, she went to his ranch. He was sitting on the porch, strumming a few soft chords on his old guitar, one of the few sounds he could still make. She sat beside him quietly for a long time.